Well, hello, students. I'm so glad to see you today. Today, we're going to do some story time. I know that's always a fun time. Today, the story that we're going to be looking at, not necessarily reading together, but yet exploring together, is the story called King Midas. Have you ever read that story before? If so, give me a thumbs up. If you think you maybe know what the story is about, sideways thumbs. And if you have no idea what this story is about, give me a thumbs down. Well, today you're in for a real treat. The story of King Midas is actually a Greek myth, and it was written with a purpose in mind. It has a theme. And the author who wrote this story many hundreds of years ago wanted you to learn something from this. So there is a theme that you will understand by the end of the story if you're really thinking about the details. And then you need to apply the story to yourself and find out, what value is this to me? So today, our skill that we're going to be practicing, or our reading comprehension strategy, is asking questions to find the theme of the story. And so as you're reading this, you need to be asking yourself, well, what does this mean? What can I learn from this part of the story? And then by the end, as you think about all the things that you've thought of throughout the story that has value and that the author's trying to teach you something, you should know the central message of the story, which we call the theme. So to begin with, I have a video version of the story for those of you that do not actually have the text that we're going to be using today. You can use the video version of it. As you know from reading books and seeing movies, they don't always have the same storyline or the same actual events that take place. They generally have the same plot or the main events, but similarities in maybe the characters or some of the details in the story. You'll find that to be different too, but I just wanted to provide something which gives you a basic version of the story if you don't have this text that I'll be referencing today. So you're welcome to go ahead in just a minute after we discuss several things before we get started. And it's always good. A good reading student always asks themselves questions. The first question that you would want to do or ask yourself is, what do I think is going to happen in this story? That's called making a prediction. And you can look at the picture here. Also look at the title, King Midas and the Golden Touch. Well, those words might give you some clues, especially if you've read the story or heard the story before, then you wouldn't need to make a prediction because you already know what's going to happen, right? But for those of you that have never heard of this story, all you're going to do is look at the picture clues and again, think about the title, and it might give you enough information that you can kind of put a storyline together. So go ahead and think about that for a minute. While you're thinking about the prediction or what you think is going to happen in the story, I'd like to go ahead and pose some questions to you. The first question is, have you ever wanted something so badly that you lose sight of what is most important to you? Or, here's another good question, what is the most valuable thing to you? So please think about those questions as we proceed on into this text in this video. Okay, so again, the first thing that we were going to do together was make a prediction. And a prediction is what you think is going to happen in this story. And the second thing you're going to do is watch the video. And you should be able to do that by just clicking on this link that I provided from YouTube. If that doesn't work, then you're welcome to look at other versions of it that you can find online, or if you have access to the story that I'm going to be providing, which is coming up soon. It's this story here. It's called King Midas and the Golden Touch. And you can see the author's name and illustrator. This is the story I'll be using today, but you're welcome to use a different version of the story because it's going to have the same theme. Okay, now we're going to go back to find out, how can I figure out what the theme is of the story? This is a fantastic graphic organizer to use. You can see you're going to use different details that are happening in the story to give you the theme. You might ask yourself, what is the theme? Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? A theme is the central message It's what the author wants you to learn from the story. And it's a broad idea about life. So it's something that you can take and apply to your very own life. And so that's why stories that have themes apply to us, because we're supposed to take what we learn and make it a part of our life so that we can make good choices to it. It provides us with wisdom, knowledge and wisdom, so that we don't need to make the same mistakes that these characters make. Okay, and I have provided this graphic organizer to help you find the theme of our story today. Okay, let's begin with our story. Again, the story is called King Midas and the Golden Touch. This is a drama because it's written as a reader's theater. So there are character parts. So you're welcome to create character voices, which is always a great tool to use when trying to practice our fluency skills. Don't forget to check that punctuation. Otherwise, sometimes it's hard to understand what the characters are saying, or maybe how they're feeling too. Okay, so this is where the story begins. If you've already read the story, you already know what's happening. You can see that it's a story about King Midas and his daughter Marigold. And you can see, what is he obsessed with, or what does he like to focus his attention on? Well, you can see right from the get-go of the story, right from the beginning of the story, he's counting his money. That's what he was obsessed with. That was the focus of his life, how much money he had, and he felt like that's what gave him joy and happiness. And so as we read on in the story, he tells his daughter that he's going to go on about a 7-day journey. He has somewhere to go, and his daughter just loves him dearly. And she doesn't necessarily even care about this gold that her father is so obsessed with. And so she wants to go outside, and she sees her friend, and she wants to get something for her father to help remind him of her. So anyways, as the story goes on, her father leaves, but her father does give her a rose. So as you can see in the text here, King Midas says, "But I have a gift for you. I will return in 7 days before it wilts." And so that flower is supposed to help her remember him while she's away. So they say farewell to each other. And in this version of the story, again, the video is a little bit different, but in this version of the story, on the 7th day, as the king, or King Midas, is on his way back home to the castle, he runs into this traveler who's on the side of the road. He doesn't have a horse. He's injured. He's hurt his leg. And so King Midas offers some assistance and says that he's more than welcome to come back to his castle, where he could provide him with the care that he needs. And so this traveler, out of thanks, wants to offer King Midas anything that he desires. So basically a wish. What do you think King Midas would wish for? You're right. Well, with the title, The Golden Touch, that's exactly what he wished for. All he wanted was gold, so he wished for everything that he touched with his hand, that it would turn to gold. Is that a great wish? Is that what you'd wish for? In fact, let's stop for a minute. Tell someone in your family, or tell someone, what would you wish for? If you could wish for anything, what would you wish for? Well, as you know, King Midas wished for the golden touch. Everything he touched, he wanted to turn to gold. And, he was excited. Well, as he got carried away, who else did he touch? Well, he touched his daughter, and she turned to gold. And all of a sudden he realized, why did I wish for this? I love my daughter, and I would do anything for my daughter. And now I've just ruined everything with this wish. And he was so upset with himself. He had what's called anguish. And he was no longer obsessed with touching things and making them gold, because now he realized the most important thing in his life, didn't he? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put all those pieces of the story together using our graphic organizer and find out what is the theme of this story. I think you probably already know what it is, But let's go ahead and just practice these skills of finding details in our story on a certain page number and writing them in our graphic organizer and using these as evidence to support what we feel is our theme. So the first detail that I found was that supported the fact that the king was very obsessed with gold was his statement. Marigold said at the beginning of the story, she saw that her father was counting his gold, and she says, "You spend more time with your gold than with me." Usually you can tell what people love by watching them in their life. What do they spend their time doing? And that generally is a good way of finding out what is it that they love. Okay, next detail. Okay, the next detail that I came up with that supported my theme of the story was the part where Marigold, with her friend Rosie, she wanted to find something that her father could take that would remind him of her, and she found something, and it was a rock in the shape of a heart. And she gives it to her father. She says, "Here, Papa, a heart to remind you that I love you." So what kinds of things do we give each other? Again, this kind of tells people how you feel about them. And so you can see that to Marigold, it wasn't the gold. It was things around her in the shape of a heart. It wasn't necessarily that it was a rock, but it was in the shape of a heart. And what does a heart represent? It represents love. And so she was trying to help find things that would help her father know how much she loved him. Third, in this part of the text here, the father is so excited that he has turned the rose into gold. And how does Marigold react to this? Well, you can see in the text it says, "Look, my daughter, a gold rose for you." Marigold's happy smile turns to shocked surprise. Did she really want that gold flower? Oh, she loves the beautiful ones that she finds in the garden that have that nice fragrance. Marigold says, "Oh, Papa, how terrible." She smells it. "It doesn't smell sweet." And so again, the father, with his obsession, he missed out on what truly brings joy in life and brings happiness and provides other people with love. So she was teaching him, wasn't she? But he really didn't figure it out until she turned into gold, when he touched her. And then what does King Midas say? Terrible. No. Oh, this is part of the story where he's talking to the traveler, and she freezes in a place as if turned to gold. "Oh no, my precious daughter has turned to gold." So now this is when the traveler is watching what's taking place in the palace. And the traveler says, "As you wished, you said, I wish everything I touch will turn to gold." But King Midas says, "Well, but," the traveler says, "No buts. You wished, and your wish came true. You were so obsessed with gold that all you wanted was more." Then King Midas says, as he gives an anguished cry, "But now all I want is Marigold alive again. I wish I could undo my foolish wish." The traveler says, "Oh, I can see by your anguish," that means huge sorrow, sadness, "that you now realize that true wealth is not gold, but it's life, living a life of happiness, right? So I will grant you one more wish." And as you know, he's lucky that he gets the chance to kind of go back and erase what his bad decision was and try it again. And that's what's so nice about life. We do have opportunities to go back and try things again. So this time, King Midas, he wanted to erase what he did before. And he was told that by using water, and if he pours it on to whatever he turned to gold, it would change back to what it was before. And so, of course, the first thing he wants to change back, Marigold, and Marigold doesn't know what just happened. And now King Midas is laughing. He says, "Oh, no, my treasure." So now what just changed? Who's his most valuable treasure? He just realized it, right? Not the gold, but his marigold. Come aside and dry off, and I will tell you the story. And Marigold says, what story, Papa? And King Midas says, well, the story of how I learned that my obsession with gold almost cost me what is truly precious. He takes the heart stone out of his pocket and pours water over it. He no longer cares about the gold, does he? I never noticed before how beautiful a real stone is. He pours water over the gold rose and smells it. I never appreciated how sweet a rose smells. So now do you know what the theme is of this story? There are lots of details to support it. In fact, the author told you what the theme is. Did you catch it? Wow, the story teaches us so much. So if we go back to this part here of the story where King Midas discovers for the first time what's of most importance to him, we discover that King Midas actually says the words. He says, true wealth is not gold, but life. So the theme of this story is a story teaching us what true wealth is all about. And just like King Midas, he discovered that it's not the money or the wealth that we have, but it's the things around us that give us joy and happiness. And in this case, his most important treasure was his very own daughter, Marigold. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning this story with me today and that you had fun discovering what the theme of this story was. I would hope that you would also continue to read more stories and look for the theme or the central idea or message that the author wants you to learn from these stories. And take and learn from others so you don't have to make the same mistake. Again, there's so much to be thankful for in this world. We just need to stop and just be aware and have a thankful heart and look for things around us that we truly can stop and say, I am so thankful for this because of this. And when we have that attitude in life, we are a happier person. And boys and girls, I hope you're always happy. Remember to smile and make it a great day. Bye-bye.